Welcome back to the Moyne Way Podcast, where we explore the people, ideas, and everyday moments that shape life here at Moyne College, told through authentic stories, open conversations, and the spirit that makes this community one of purpose and belonging. Thanks for joining me, your host, Isaiah Salter, this week on the Moyne Way Podcast, and I am blessed to be in the presence of the one and only Travis Newton.
Hey.
Hey, the newly announced Dean of the Carroll College of Arts and Sciences. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Amazing achievement.
It's an honor.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I really want to start the conversation with kind of going back to the early context that kind of shaped you into who you are today. You know, when you think of your youth, when you think of childhood, when you think of the people that impacted you, the experiences you've had, what really comes to mind that, you know, helped curate the person sitting in front of me?
Ooh, great question. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to be with you. So for me, I think I identify first as a musician. And I think for me growing up, and I know a lot of people probably share this, the impact of music teachers is incredible. I also did a lot of community theater growing up, and that was also very formative, and took voice lessons. So again, all kind of connected to the arts and to music. And so I think those experiences, working in a team, working with others, working toward a goal, a project at the end, whether it's a concert or a show or a recital or whatever, always with kind of a goal in sight, that helped shape who I am, because I approach my work sort of project-oriented. And some projects take years.
Yeah.
And some projects take, a couple of meetings.
Wow.
And so I think that has shaped kind of my approach to work and also life in terms of, practicing my instrument and getting better at communicating with people and leading kind of go hand in hand for me. Yeah.
Did you...
Good question, by the way.
Thank you. Were you pushed into music and the arts early on? And did you have people that you...
I was pushed.
Okay.
I was pushed.
Okay.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
The story that my mom tells is that there was a kid at church playing violin, and I was 5, and she thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So she didn't teach me violin. She started me on violin with a teacher in the area. And so I don't really remember much time not playing the violin, because I started when I was 5.
Wow. And
then it just moved on from there. I think that at any point, and I know that people listening maybe play instruments or sing or, it often happens that you sort of do it especially as a kid, and then it sort of falls to the side as other things take priority. For me, a turning point was when I was in 8th grade. There was a community orchestra. You're from North Carolina, so you know the geography. In Florence, South Carolina, which is right down I-95.
Yep.
I grew up in Lumberton, so in North Carolina. So we would drive down to Florence every Monday night for me to play in this community orchestra, because there wasn't such a thing in our area. So my parents would drive me down. God bless them. And so doing that, it was all of a sudden this realization of, oh, wait a minute, because I grew up, for those who might know musical training, the Suzuki method is a way to teach little kids music that mostly relies on using your ears and not so much reading music, and then you gradually move into reading the notes on the page.
Okay.
But it starts as a very aural, AURAL experience.
Suzuki method.
Yep.
There's
lots
multiple
of books.
methods.
There are multiple methods.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I started on the Suzuki method, and my teacher taught me on the Suzuki method. And there's a whole methodology and training and things like that go along with it. But sitting in that orchestra was the first time that it was like, wait a minute, everything that I need to know is right on the page. All these little dots and lines and up bow, down bow, staccato, it's all there. And so, and not only that, but the peer pressure of being surrounded by a bunch of people who could play their instruments and could read music really forced me to move, to a different level and to realize how freeing it can be to not have to listen to something before you play it to know how it goes.
Wow.
But just to be able to see it and read it, just like you read a word on a page. So reading music, that was one thing. And then I started playing the violin, like background music at restaurants and stuff like that, and getting paid.
And about what age are you?
Like that 8th grade
Okay,
range.
okay.
And that was a game changer for me.
Wow.
Just to be able to see that, people value it and you can actually make money doing it. So I started playing weddings and at churches and gigs like that. And that, I think that incentivized me to continue versus stop. And then I went to my undergraduate is in violin performance and went on and kept doing it, just kept going.
Wow. And was it like an instant like love for music, or was it something that you kind of gradually
I
grew
wouldn't
into?
say instant, and no. And some things you love more than others, just like, you read a book and that was okay, or wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a spectrum just in a similar way, for me anyway. I do love playing the violin, especially now when I get to still go back to it. But I would say that around that time, playing in the orchestra was great because you're part of a group. But then playing background music at a restaurant, I wouldn't call that love. It was more like a job, but a great job. On the spectrum of jobs,
Right.
when you're in 8th or 9th grade, that's a good gig.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And you yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're in 8th grade and you're getting paid to play violin at restaurants, that's like, yeah, I mean, you're blessed.
Yeah, very lucky, very blessed. And I remember one time complaining to my mom, like, I don't know if this is worth it, me doing this. And she looked at me and she's just like, you're insane. Do you know how hard I work?
Yeah.
And you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So she's good at the reality check, too.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
you mentioned the importance of, music teachers.
Yeah.
What was something like some pivotal things that you learned from the people who taught you music, but also speak on how important or how influential teachers in general, but specifically in the realm of music, can be for the trajectory of a kid?
Yeah, so the sort of methodical approach to practicing an instrument and getting it from A to B to C to D and on was that approach was really formative for me in terms of looking at a piece of music, looking at a piece of music and seeing how it can improve, but not just, it doesn't happen magically. And I think for many people who appreciate the arts, and we need more and more audiences in the arts, so please come to concerts and things.
Yeah.
When you look at people performing, you think, oh, it just seems like it happens magically, right? Nothing happens magically. Not only is the what you're seeing not magical, no component of it is, but when it all comes together, it seems that way. And so learning that and learning how to slow something down, take it one bit at a time, gradually speed it up, was really helpful for me, and that approach from my music teachers was great. The other thing is that you get to hang out with them sometimes, and traveling with music teachers to competitions, to performances, field trips, going to all counties and all state orchestra, and getting riding in the car with your orchestra teacher is fantastic, because you really get to know them as people. outside of the classroom. And so those opportunities too, it doesn't happen in every subject, in every discipline. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And then the second part of your question, I'm forgetting.
Oh, just the impact or the influence that a teacher can have on the trajectory of a student.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't think, and I know that, here at Lemoyne, we often see alumni come back and we had no idea the thing that we said or the project that we did or the trip we took and the impact that had on them at the time. And then they come back and tell us, and it's incredible. So yeah, for me, that I have all of these experiences that I'm sure the teachers at the time were just kind of doing their job and doing their best and not realizing the impact that it had. So,
Absolutely. And you said you went where after high school?
UNC Greensboro.
Shout out to UNCG.
Yep, UNCG.
Trojans.
Spartans.
Excuse
Close.
me. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was
Yes, and the a cappella group is the Spartones.
Spartones. That's great.
Clever.
Yeah.
So UNCG has a great school of music, not that I'm biased, and just really got lucky there in that I was in a state that has a great public education system, got some good scholarships, and, it was not expensive to begin with, and had really high quality, conservatory level faculty. So my violin teacher, went to Eastman School of Music in Rochester, not too far from here, and then did his doctorate at University of Maryland, studied with Charlie Castleman, who's kind of a huge figure in the violin world, and it was just great training.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm interested, did music teach you how to slow down in life? Because you talk about when I think about that's always something I've gotten from you. Maybe that's just a personality trait, but
That I'm slow?
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh gosh, but you're very you said the word methodic and at your own pace, and you just move with this serenity almost, and it's very nice.
Well, it may seem like serenity, but it's all crazy on the inside. But anyway, so no, I'm kidding. But I think that there might be something to that. I mean, I do tend to look at things in parts and pieces and figure out how, what needs to be done when and how we move things forward sort of methodically. And I think that the same approach does apply to music in terms of preparing a piece and putting it together. And to, for me as a conductor, kind of looking at the various parts and pieces of an orchestra and what's the thing that I need to say right now to this person to help them be better and achieve what they need to achieve versus that person, because it's not going to be the same thing. And I was actually having this conversation with a coworker yesterday about the different personalities of the orchestra and how you can almost, I mean, it's a bit of stereotypes, but there are certain personality traits that I think that lend themselves to certain instruments. So you can't really, for example, play a double reed instrument, which is an oboe or an English horn or a bassoon, without being a pretty detailed person, in my opinion, because there's so much that goes into your reeds, making your reeds, getting them to the right condition, keeping them. Just last night we had a concert at the chapel here. We had some guest artists come in, and which we do often, and you should come.
Yes.
And the oboist, Jillian Hahn, is the former principal oboist of our local professional orchestra in Syracuse. And just noticed, so she had her oboe, she had her English horn. The English horn is just sort of like a larger oboe that plays in a lower register. Anyone who plays the English horn would probably yell at me for calling it a larger oboe, but that's all right. Setting that aside, she had those two instruments, and she was going back and forth between them, and she had her reeds, and she had thing of water that she has to soak the reeds in, and so it's just she had a whole case of reeds, because I know that for those players, there's a certain type of reed for this and that type of playing, and you might at any point have reeds kind of in rotation, so they're not getting overused, and so it's just there's all these little systems in place, right? And that's just one instrument. So
That's wild.
looking at an orchestra and thinking, again, just to go back to my point about like knowing what approach needs to be taken with different people to help them understand what you're trying to get at, first of all, and then also to move forward. And so I think I do approach that methodical approach applies to a lot of things. So I think you might be right about that.
How do you, what's your relationship with failing, making mistakes, imperfections?
Happens all the time. I think that one of the reasons that I like this job, the dean job, is that you're not always going to, I won't say win, but succeed in every conversation or everything you try to do. There's going to be rejection. You're going to come up with ideas and people are going to say, that's not going to work, or here's some obstacles or whatever. I think that being a musician has helped me with that, because there's constant rejection as a musician. There's constant failure. You are constantly being asked to do things differently. You're getting constant feedback from your teacher, from audiences, from critics, about what it is that you're doing, and you have to try not to take it personally. And you're expected as a musician to immediately take that feedback and do it differently. Like, not tomorrow, not in an hour, but right now,
Immediately.
in the moment. So it's a feedback loop that's happening in real time. It's like you do something, you get the feedback, you do it again, you keep doing it, and you're moving forward. So so it's kind of hard to offend me with sort of constructive criticism, because I think it's kind of baked into what I'm used to getting as a musician. So that's handy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Constructive criticism. And you said it, not taking things personal. That's a huge lesson in life.
And it's not always something that I do, but I try.
Yeah.
We all try.
It's just cultivating like a certain level of awareness to see when maybe you're starting to take something personal, so you can maybe adjust.
Yeah.
Or
Well, and
shift.
that's where you talk to your spouse or your family, and you were your therapist and you work it out. But most of the time, and I would say here at Lemoyne, all the time, people are just trying to do their job and do it very well, and to make it better for students, for each other. And so taking it with that spirit and understanding that, I think, is, again, it doesn't always kind of work out so nicely. Like it's not not like a thing that I can do all the time, but I really try to understand what someone's saying without taking it personally. So yeah.
Absolutely. What about navigating doubt? How have you navigated doubt?
There is, like when you did your great introduction, by the way, well done, and you talked about me being the dean, it was sort of like, oh, yeah, I am the dean. And so, that is a thing that I think everyone carries with them, the kind of imposter syndrome, or the wondering if am I really going to be able to do this, or so for me, that is definitely there. But again, I think I focus on the work that we're doing together, and part of it is also recognizing, so when that doubt starts to creep in, it's like, wait a minute, but I'm not on my own.
Hmm.
This is not just about what I'm doing. So, reinforcing the fact that we are part of a team or a group or a collective that's trying to move things forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
Not taking it all on yourself,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think is important.
And you mentioned you were a conductor and still are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
I'm sure that, there's a thread that just being a conductor has helped you to bring in like leadership qualities into the workplace, or when you're with teams and things like that. And for me, it's just like thinking about being a conductor. I'm thinking about all the different pieces that make this one grand outcome, and how difficult it must be to like know where pieces should fit and how to maneuver and how to adapt and how to shift.
Yes, and a lot of conducting is honestly getting out of the way, and I think that's true in leadership too. So you're standing up in front of 100 musicians or whatever. They've all been playing their instrument for a long time. They've had thousands and thousands of hours of practice on their own, of lessons, of performance, and so it's a little egotistical to think that, oh, they all need me to guide them. That being said, that's kind of the role of a conductor, is to help everyone do what they need to do. But really, part of the exercise is figuring out, what do they actually need from me? What can I add? How can I add value? And how can I also not get in the way of them doing what they need to do? Because there also are moments where you could be a little too, I'm going to say, micromanaging of their performance, and it just gets in their way. So giving them that freedom to, they're already being told where to sit, what time to be there,
Right.
what music they're playing. They've got all the, all the dynamics, all the indications, the tempos on the page. It's already very prescriptive. And so once you do come together, trying to find those ways to give them freedom, I think, is important. And I think that's true in this job as well. And in, as a department chair, as a program director, as someone who's worked in orchestras, whenever you can, sort of stepping back and having people, empowering them to do what they need to do is important.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you have to jump in.
And did you ever, for lack of a better term, struggle with how you were being perceived by others?
Sure. Yeah. And early on in my career, I think in orchestra management, before I even came into academia, I think there were definitely times where me, as the kind of newbie whippersnapper orchestra manager guy, lost sight of where the line was in terms of, that's their job. You don't need to jump in and try to do that. Let them do that. And so yeah, and I don't spend a ton of time worrying about what people think. And that it's lucky that that's kind of built into my personality, and I'm privileged to have that ability, or that, I won't even say ability, I have the privilege of not being overly concerned with what people think.
Yeah.
And not everyone has that privilege, so I want to recognize that too. But it's useful, and that's not to say that I'm never concerned. I'm often asking people after a meeting or after an event, like, what was your perception of how that went?
Yeah.
Because not, conversations don't always go smoothly.
Absolutely.
There's built-in, there's a lot of opportunity for disagreement and conflict, and there are challenges, and so it's not like everything's always just hunky-dory,
Yeah.
right? And so after those moments, I'm often reflecting and asking other people to reflect about how things went. Um, so yes, that does happen as well. But I think for the most part, we stay focused on what we're trying to accomplish, and we just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it makes me think of the law of detachment.
Hmm.
And specifically, I'll use the sports realm, but you could apply this to music, I'm sure. Something that I always had to struggle with was, you would put in all the work, you would take all the right steps and do everything that you had to do and really embrace the process. But then when it came time to perform or play a game or whatever, you start getting in your own way and overanalyzing, overthinking, rather than just detaching from the outcome and trusting the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can apply that to life. As long as you're with some, sense of clarity within yourself, moving in alignment, taking steps every single day, doing the things that are rooted in who you are, detached from everything else.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, of course, but
Much easier said than done, but well said. And yeah, sort of trying to get into that comfortable flow state so that you're just kind of moving forward is easier said than done, but important
absolutely.
to really try to do that.
And what was the moment in your life where you had the thought of getting into academia?
Oh, I didn't really. It was presented to me as an opportunity to come teach here at Le Moyne as an adjunct faculty member. I was playing the violin around town and teaching adjuncting a couple different places, and got a call from Andy Russo, who's a pianist who really sort of launched the music program here at Le Moyne. And they had a group of students that called themselves the Hopeful Strings Ensemble, and asked me to come and lead the string ensemble part, as an adjunct. I had never considered teaching in higher ed,
Wow.
or really teaching in any real capacity other than maybe private violin lessons. But I really enjoyed it, and things have, obviously moved from that point. But I never thought, oh, that's somewhere where I really want to be, is in that space. But once I got here, obviously, since I've been here for over 20 years, really enjoyed it.
And I was going to say, being here for so long, what was it about Le Moyne that really gripped you?
The students, definitely the students, because they want to do well and they want to learn, and they're hungry for culture, for, in my case, obviously music, and they want to be, we talk a lot about cura personalis around here, but we don't just talk about it, we do it. And evinced in the fact that we have so many students who are studying bio or psychology or criminology or political science, all these different majors, business, nursing, and want to remain creative as well. There are some schools that, maybe they have a music major or theater major. We also have a theater major here at Le Moyne. But all of our arts programs are open to all students. That's not the case everywhere. And that's something that does set us apart, because not only do we have arts involvement and programs available to all students, they're really good. So it's not just that you can get involved, it's that you can get involved in something that's really high quality. And that also was not the case everywhere. And so the fact that we have an orchestra made up entirely of people who are not majoring in music, because we have no music major, is remarkable.
Wow.
The fact that we have a jazz ensemble, we have a rock ensemble, we have multiple choirs, we offer private lessons to students, we we're starting a new pep band, everybody.
Pet?
Pep
Oh,
band.
Pep. I was
For,
like, hold
mostly for basketball games.
on. Okay.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
and
a
we're
great
working with
idea.
athletics on that. And by we, I mean me and our Department of Visual and Performing Arts. And those are just musical examples, right? And so for me, Lemoyne is a place where we do care about all the dimensions of a person, and we also show them that we care by offering these many, many opportunities for them to do many, many things.
Mm. And do you think it's important for everyone to find or have a creative outlet or express themselves creatively?
Um, I don't think I would want to be kind of prescriptive about that. I think that human beings are naturally creative, innately creative.
Mm.
We look at what we do as kids, coloring, drawing, painting, sculpting, music, theater, dance. It's all kind of incorporated. And then as we get older, it sort of gets peeled off, which is unfortunate because clearly it's part of us. And so I think for me, I wouldn't say everyone needs it, but I think everyone has it. And I think how they find it and tap into it is really up to them.
Yeah, that's a beautiful perspective. I
Like,
totally agree.
and people say, "Oh, you're so talented." Maybe, but we also as artists just practice a lot,
Yeah.
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 And I think athletes can relate to that too, right? So you're such a talent, you do have to have a certain level of coordination and, that sort of thing, but you're also working your tail off
Right.
to get there. And I think that, talent might be a little overblown because, there's the saying about inspiration versus perspiration, right?
Hmm.
So,
Never heard that.
yeah, honestly, I'm gonna butcher it, but there's something to that in terms of, the quotient of innate talent versus simply working hard and the way that those things work together.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, okay. That's interesting too. Um, for students maybe feeling like uncertain in life or not having a clear path, trying to figure out what's next, feeling like they have to have everything figured out by a certain, age in their 20s, whatever it is, what advice would you give?
first of all, I would say that's normal to feel that way. Like validating that. Everyone feels that. I felt it. I don't know if you did. I say
1000%.
everyone, but
1000%.
I think it's very normal to feel that way. That you have to do this, and then you can do that, and then you do that. And in some fields, that's true. Like you can't be a teacher unless you get a degree in education, and in New York, at least for the moment, get a master's, right? But what I would say is that there are so many entry points along the way that I never, like, I just talked about not knowing that I was going to be, not really setting out to be in higher education, but ending up here. When I was in my undergrad, I had no idea that orchestra management or arts administration or managing something in an arts context was even a thing, was even a career. And so just happened upon it, really. And so, I would say my advice would be to again, recognize that that's normal to feel that way, but then to think about really honing in on what you enjoy doing. And as a starting point, I think about our Manresa program and the incredible work that they do in helping students hone in on their passions and finding their vocation, and of course their career, but thinking about what you're passionate about because that will translate to everything.
So good. And it is important to really think about those things. I think there's so many things that you spoke about it when you talked about how that childlike spirit is kind of, stripped from us or dimmed down because we grow up and we get conditioned and programmed into society and stuff. I think it's so important to ask yourself those type of questions and to spend time just reflecting on it, because if not, you'll just get so caught up in the mundane cycle of every day and just allow all of these things outside of you to push you in a direction that may not actually be the direction you want to go in. You're just kind of following a script when it's like there's so much more to you. I think that also speaks to cura personalis.
Well, and students come to us, and I think the faculty here really take their jobs so seriously in terms of really aiming to broaden students' perspective, because, students come in, many of them come in from high school and they think, okay, now I'm in college, so we need to flip the switch. I need to be done doing this, that, and the other thing that I did in high school and now focus on, now I'm a whatever major, right? So that's my focus. And one of the things we really try to do is, through our core curriculum, introducing them to things that they've never even thought of before, is to broaden their perspective on not only what they can do in a career, but what exists in the world and for them as human beings and the humanity of the world, which, by the way, I'm going to go to our vision statement in the Carroll College, which is to seek and to reveal the humanity of the world. That's sort of a paraphrase of it. But opening their eyes and broadening their perspective to all the possibilities, whether it's, international travel or, doing some experiential learning or service learning or, helping them work on finding internships or connections in the community that they never would have imagined, types of organizations. Like for me, when I was, as I said, never knew that arts management was a thing. There are so many different paths that we don't even know existed, and that in 4 years there will be even more, right? And careers, we always say here that we're training students for careers that don't even exist yet. Wow. Because they're getting a solid liberal arts training, which is focused on liberating their minds so that they can really do any number of things and pivot as needed.
I've never even heard that tie in liberal arts to liberate their mind.
That's what liberal arts education is it's about freeing your mind. It's a degree in learning, a degree in thinking.
That's beautiful. Broadening your perspective, seeing what's out there. Oh, care for the whole person, cura personalis.
Yeah,
that's it. Where you are, this is. I'm gonna ask you 2 more questions, and we'll get into the rapid fire.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, it's you're fine. You're fine. The first is, what does a meaningful life look like for you right now?
Boy, that's a great question. I think being integrated in your approach. I think for me, I really try to be the same, if not very similar person at work as I am at home, and not feeling like I have to do a lot of acting, because that's exhausting.
Wow.
So that's meaningful, going home and, my family is number one, and I don't make any bones about that. And I've always felt that Lemoyne is a place that recognizes that. I've never brought my kids to an event or a concert or something where I've felt anything other than welcome for them. And it's a real community of understanding. And so for me, that integration is important. And I think simply, giving back whenever possible makes for a very meaningful life. It better to give than to get. You get so much from giving, and at this point in my life, I don't get to do as much kind of volunteering and working in the community as I'd like to, given how just time is so. I think continuing to try to do more and more of that is a priority.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful answer. And if you could design one class that every student had to take, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think it would be a class where the students, that changes every time it's offered, and the students help design it with you. So designing a course that changes every time it happens.
So would they design it while they're in it? Like
Yeah.
for the next semester or
Or
next?
for themselves.
That's fire. That's good.
I mean, I don't know if it's good, but I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I think it would tap into a certain part of
I think it'd be fun.
the
Co-creation
yeah.
is, I mean, we can't do that with every course because we have a curriculum. We have, we have things that we know are good for the students, and that's our job partly. And students don't always love that, but that's okay. we actually do know in many cases what will help them. But co-creation, I think, as a concept is a something interesting to explore in terms of people in any setting, whether it's in a classroom, at work, working on something together as opposed to being simply told this is the way. Speaking of the way,
Yes.
it has value.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we do need to say this is the way. That's our job. Recognizing that the way changes, right, and needs to change based on feedback, based on inputs from the environment, so that you have that sort of cycle.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. We were made to evolve in all aspects of life. Okay. That is
Yes.
it for the main conversation. Now we're
Okay.
going to move into the fast round questions, or the fast fire questions. I don't know. I still am working on the name for that. Like
That's all right.
rapid fire.
tells
Yeah,
a
rapid
story.
fire. There we
It's
go.
fine.
We'll do rapid fire.
It's just, I didn't know, but that's good.
Okay.
That's the point.
The first question is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
What time do you wake up?
Well, the dog, 6.
Okay.
Range.
All right, cool.
But
I'm
not crazy.
I'm not gonna
crazy
say
early.
I'm not gonna say who, but we had I already know Stefan laughing. We had a guest who wakes up at 2:45
Yikes.
a.m.
Are they on the Today Show? What? That makes no sense to
You
me.
should, yeah, I know.
Is this a
Literally,
meteorologist
I
on
don't-
Channel 9?
Right.
Why would you get up that early?
he said 2:45. I was like, huh? Like I had to pause the.
Yikes.
Oh, well, I just
No.
okay. Favorite spot on campus?
Ooh. The Performing Arts Center.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
What's a book, podcast, or show that you would recommend to students?
Ooh. To students. Well, this podcast, obviously. I would say I just read, there are 2 books. There's one called The Art of Gathering, and there's another one called The Let Them Theory.
Mel Robbins.
Yeah, and I think they both have value. I mean, there are so many good books. Kafka. Kafka's
Literally.
great.
Yeah.
Camus,
Mm.
fabulous. So, I mean, ranging from self-help to existentialism, and so
And everything
take
in
your
between.
pick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Let Them is. I love Mel Robbins. I think that's a very
It's
a good
persuasive.
Yeah, it is, and it's a great message to instill in your life. Who or what inspires you most right now?
Our students, because they're trying so hard to just move forward, and it's not easy. Yeah,
If you could instantly learn one new skill, what would it be?
instantly.
Instantly, like no practice, no. You could just snap your.
Piano.
Really?
like being really good at the piano.
Like that.
I can sort of tinker and whatever, but just to be able to go would be
It's
great.
so impressive, man. There's certain I think just because of my love for music and just creativity and expression, I find beauty in everything. Like, it doesn't matter what instrument people are playing, but there's some that just spark a certain emotion, and piano is one of them. Like when you see people that are really in the
Yeah.
flow state, it's just like, oh,
Well, and you can just do so much with a piano. It can sound like a whole orchestra if you're good.
that's wild.
So,
That's wild to think about.
you've got all those keys, all those strings and hammers, and it's giant and it's loud. It can be soft. You can do all kinds of things with it. One regret is that I quit piano lessons as a kid. But, yeah, so piano, instant piano would be good.
Instant. Favorite food spot in or around Syracuse?
Ooh, I love a Pizza Regionale, and I love that they're opening a location in Fayetteville
Oh, they are?
that is going to be sort of like a market, like an Italian market.
Oh, that's great.
Love Italian food, culture, etc. And so,
Wow.
yeah, it's just always good.
Michael Streiskooth, that was his favorite spot too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Never mind. No, just kidding. Love him.
I know he's great. I got to get both of y'all on at the same time.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
sure.
A three person conversation. One word to describe Lemoyne.
Open.
Love it. Never gotten that one. And then the last one is, if everyone from the Lemoyne community was listening right now, what would you want to say?
Keep working hard. We're doing amazing things. The news, the current climate is so tricky and can be incredibly oppressive. But the things that we're doing here and the students who are coming out of Lemoyne and then coming back to Lemoyne and are going into the world genuinely making it a better place, which sounds, sort of trite, but is true. The work we're doing matters.
Absolutely. The work we're doing matters, just like these type of conversations. So, Travis, thank you.
Thank you.
For an amazing conversation.
My pleasure. Yeah.
I would love to sit down with you again.
That was fun.
Yeah, I could talk to you for hours. We already went over the time, but I was
did we?
I want to talk to you for hours. But beautiful people watching, that is it for today. We want to give a huge thanks to LCTV for making this podcast possible here in the studio space. To the Carroll College of Arts and Sciences.
Yes.
Shout out to the dean right next to me. To Put God First, whose support helps to make this podcast run each and every week. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Grace Center and LCTV in the links below so you never miss an episode. I will see you next week. Money.